passed by mistake before I even found it.
The Arisen has been poisoned.
That frying griffin, so yeah. Because that was apparently something they're supposed to do. Yeah.
That's just crazy. It's a fun monster. They could have made different, harder versions of her, and I think it's really cool. And it's like, okay, well, put her like in every four corners of the world or something, right? Like way out there. But no, there's just one. And if you want to farm it so you can upgrade your weapons, you have to like constantly sleep for like, what, 7 days or something, or 11 days
and
for her to respawn.
I think that even just having the monsters that we have, they could have also taken a Monster Hunter approach to it. Just like, you know, make a different skin and make him have slightly different behaviors, which they already do. They do for like yeah, they did this for things like
some of the werewolf, a bunch of them.
Yeah, but I was talking about just big monsters, right? Because small monsters are forgettable super fast, because you just one-shot everything very quickly. But like talking about big monsters, they do in the ogres. You have like one that's got more hair and he's a little bit different. Then you have the chimeras, where you get the gourd chimeras.
Lay down your arms,
or
you hurt yourself.
I think gourd chimeras show up at the end. Like you have the elder ogres, then you have the gourd chimeras at the end, and what else? I mean, I guess you have two different types of dragons. You have like the bubbly boys with the blade, then you have the drakes. That's it, right? There could have been more things there. You had more in the original Dragon's Dogma.
They didn't even like, hey, let's have the drakes instead of all of them casting thunder and meteor. Why don't we have some of them doing, you know, like ice, some other like earth or ice or lightning or something, or something other than lightning. Like they just didn't do any variation. I'm just like,
see, this is an opportunity. This is one of the things where I feel like that wouldn't be that hard, and you could have extended. Even with what you already have model-wise, you could have extended the variety of combat encounters. That could have fixed a lot of the problems that people have. It even makes people question if potentially they're thinking about taking a Monster Hunter similar approach where it's like, well, we have these now, but you know, a month from now, hey, we added these monsters. But I think that at that point, it's like, yeah, I'm gonna go there and I'm gonna one-shot it, and it's dead now. It's like, you know?
What it makes me miss, and I hate that we'll be talking so much about some of the bad points about the game today, even though we both absolutely adore it and we think it's an awesome.
During my travels beyond the rift, I learned of a Kame Hill.
But like one thing I really missed personally
Shall I take us
is something like Evil Eye. Or like Hydra.
What is Evil Eye?
Why are they?
Oh, you
Evil
mean
Eye is that ball
the
with the tentacles.
Yeah.
The gazers, yeah. It was awesome.
Yeah, but wasn't that only?
No.
No,
it was in the Emperor. And there was one. Actually, there's two.
All will be lost.
Grab the wings, and then all of a sudden the tentacles come up. Then you have the Everfall again.
Oh right, it was nice.
Yeah, and then there was the one in Bitter Black, which was really awesome. That check in.
That was a beast.
He was great.
But yeah, we could.
Or Hydras. No Hydras. Oof.
Yeah, everybody missed the Hydra. The Hydra's so such an iconic.
And well, Medusa was
I'm
cool
attentive and loyal, and how might I serve? I have a modest talent for spotting material. I know where we can find the necessary.
She's way too weak, and they didn't do a stronger version of her. And there's only one in the whole game.
That was one of the problems. One of the problems with Medusa too is that she felt too weak. Like you were saying, for instance, and I think there's a lot of people who have this idea that tricksters are really weak formation. Understand, I didn't even take sorcerers even when I was playing trickster because I thought those sorcerers are too powerful. And even then, I had like mage, fighter, which is my pawn. My pawn is running as a fighter, except when I was mages were usually as fighter. So mage, fighter, and archer is usually my big bonds that I would have, and it was me as Trickster with that party, and they just destroyed Medusa. They obliterated it. It was disgusting. There was one point where Medusa's trying to petrify the archer, and the archer goes like, "Heavenly shot!" Right as Medusa's like giving her the eyes, and because I had the red buff on it, you just hear the arrow, and it's like a chunk. It just murdered her. I was like, damn. Just chunked her.
Trickster's good fun. Like,
Trickster is such a
all you need is throw them the red juice. Out and just get back into the show. Throw up your taunt your effigy and just like right when it charges up to attack it. Nope. Yoink. Then move it.
Yeah.
Nope. Over here. Over here. I was playing around with the idea of like the sky, and then you place it in a place they can't reach, and it basically kills every fight. They want to attack it, but they can't.
Unless it's like
so
a big monster.
basically just
Big monster.
yeah,
attack.
just slaughter.
But,
Yeah, you can't really grab rag over the tree, especially with that like skill that aggro the world. It's like,
but
it's if you want to observe and watch the AI just kick some ass. It's
but getting back to the diversity thing, so we could have
Did my
used more
best
monster
to match
diversity.
your
But one of the things
skill,
that I
Master.
didn't see a lot of people talk about, and that I felt is just as needed, is more dungeon diversity.
yes,
Every
absolutely.
90% of dungeons are just the same cave texture, and then that's it. Then sometimes like,
Why
oh, here's
don't
some
we have-
elvish stuff.
Yeah, the one thing I was missing was like, you remember when you went to the fortress in the first game with the goblins there?
Yeah.
And you had like an actual castle siege that you did? Where was that?
I mean, we had
Like,
some towers
it's
that you
medieval.
would go up on. That
They
was
all
about it.
felt the same.
Yeah, they were pretty
Or
much
like the
same.
tower in the first game, right? With the
Blue Moon
boss at
Tower.
the top, with the sorcerer. Oh my god.
Yeah.
Just give me. I actually have a script for a video I haven't made, and like I could just read it. It's like it's absolutely talking about where's the variety on the locations. You had so many great set pieces. Like we don't have like even like the misty points. I don't feel like we had like a marsh area. And I totally recommend those marshes, but like we just need more variety of like dungeons.
Yeah, I think we needed more dungeons in the game for sure. But yeah,
So
more,
here's a
more
question:
monster, more dungeons.
Do you feel that they would have added if they were given more time, or do you think this might be a case of Capcom saying, "Hey, the game is already really good. It's a fully shippable product, but like we've got Monster Hunter next year or whatever. Like let's get this out of here," and they had to cut it short, or do you think that this was by design?
I mean, given the date, right? Given the date, at the end of March, which, as you always say, fiscal quarter, Japan is like. I think it's pretty. It was the same thing with Rise of Ronin too. I felt like because they released on the exact same day. It's that Japan thing of like, hey, listen, fiscal time, game comes out, we're good to go. And I do feel like they probably
Certainly
wanted
arisen.
that.
How might I be of aid?
I feel like there was some stuff that was probably chopping block. That's the overall.
Yeah.
Now that I've played, initially when I was playing the game, right, throughout the live streams, which took a very long time because I wanted to really take my time with it and soak it in. I know there's people who finish the game in like 20 hours. Like, oh, I did most of the side stuff.
Profitable endeavor.
No, you didn't.
Not even close.
Well, that's what me at 160 hours doing speed runs now. I see videos saying I 100% of the game. I'm like, did you?
Nah.
Like, what's 100%? Like, are you talking about platinum trophy only, or what do you really need? You 100%?
Like, I have.
You've got a lot of random.
I finished the game at 112 hours, and I didn't do everything. So no, I'm sorry, you didn't do everything.
I was at
Not even
86
close.
on my first, I think 40 hours on my second, 24 in the next, 32 in the next, 23 in the next,
And
18 on the next, and then on my 7th playthrough, or 6th or 7th, I did in 4 hours.
Yeah.
And that was intentional.
But the thing that I find interesting is that I think that a lot of people see people being able to finish the game in 20 hours as a bad thing, whereas I'm like, no, that's a good thing. So that the people that that want to do it fast, they can. But the people that also want to spend like 100 hours on it without, you know, just having to repeat content or whatever, they also can. So there's the two things there, and everybody can do whatever they want. That, to me, that's perfect. The streamlined MSQ that people, if they want to do that, they can. And then if you want to explore more and go through the side quests and whatnot, they can do that too. So that to me is a good thing. But now that I've been through the whole thing, right, and I took all of those hours to make sure that I saw everything that I wanted to savor it, I definitely feel like they probably left some stuff on the chopping block because of the fact that, you know, fiscal year, blah, and they weren't able to give it the justice it deserved, which I do wish they had done more. But still, I'm happy that at least they sold 2.5 million copies. So hopefully they'll get some more budget, build upon it, like add some stuff, like maybe more randomness as to where you find the monsters, more monster variations.
It's a superb base game, yeah, but
exactly.
And it's because it's delicious that it leaves a lot of room for wanting more.
Yeah, that's the thing. As
much as I will criticize certain things in this game, it was an A-tier experience.
Let me get that.
No, I absolutely really. It's my game of the year. It's my
They
game.
say
I have
thieves
all of
strike
these
swift as the wind.
It's still my game of the year, and I wouldn't trade what I've experienced.
Okay, I would say like it was a good game, but has the potential to be even better.
Yeah, and that is why so many people are frustrated, because that's exactly the same sentiment we had back in the original Dragon's Dogma. Like, oh man, this has the potential to be so much better, and then Dragon's Dogma 2 comes out. It's like we're saying the same thing, and it's like, damn it. In a way, it makes me wonder. Like we spoke yesterday when we were planning this out. We spoke yesterday about how there's the whole thing about the director, not the director, the credits. How apparently there's less people working on this game than other Capcom titles.
Yeah.
Do you think that was the case?
Ditto. Not only is there like, there's multiple. I think there's multiple versions of the credits. I'll be honest, because I mean, going through all the endings, I was like, has anybody actually put together all the different versions of the credits? I don't know.
So wait, do different endings have different credits?
That was the impression that I've been getting. I could be wrong. But even so, it's like there's several hundred people. That's a lot of people working on a game. Whether you have 250 or 1,000, that doesn't. You have to realize when you have a game that credits 1,000 people, 80% of that is contracted work. You know, like if I want to say, okay, I have a base model and I need them to do the rigging for me, and I ask a rigging company to start doing the rigging for models. I have the head of that company, their sales associates, their legal team, their marketing team, the executive producer, the riggers, the assistant riggers. You get a whole package of credits that come with that, right? Okay, well, I'm going to outsource maybe some of the objects. Because, like, why would you need to make all the breakable objects? With the core team, they should be working on more important stuff. Outsource that, boom, you've now got 3D object, rendering, staff, lighting. Like, it just balloons, right? The more... Look at a game like Monster Hunter World and look at all the credits, but actually look at the companies.
Evidently, it is a contraption that allows for travel betwixt 2 points.
300,
That does sound convenient.
I was
outsourced stuff.
Should be a
I was
shame
checking
not
out
to
like an
have
article
done.
from Rock Paper Shotgun where they were tackling this particular topic, and they were saying that sometimes in Japan they don't even credit the outsource work. I don't know how.
Yeah, there's a lot, and I think this is bad, and especially it's an issue when it comes to localization. A lot of times they will only credit their in-house, like
I'm sure
person
we'll find
who
a
was
purpose
the
for
rec
it in
for
due time.
handling the work, but everybody behind the action did the work. They don't get up.
So yeah, it's a situation where it's not as simple as you
Who the
look
hell
up something.
knows? But it's not. I definitely don't think that's. I mean, look at the quality of the game. There's no way you can tell me, oh, they were forced to make this on a small team. It's crap.
Yeah.
Not to mention, I think small teams are more effective than larger teams. You know, there's something to be said about AAA games that are made by 300 people versus 800, right? Like
Because they're more
disjointed
agile.
you get, the more overhead you have on trying to rail things back, and I think that's the Ubisoft problem.
There's less red
There's
tape.
so much strict schedule and outputs that once you have the plan, you can't change it. All the made. You got to put it together at the end of the day, and that's it. There's no time to tweak any direction or come up with a whole new idea. That's where dev hell comes in. Like someone decides midway, hey, we're going to change this. They probably weren't wrong, but the way they have it built is not agile enough, so everyone suffers as a result. Or you come up with a game that just has a lot of polished assets that don't really click together. You know? And I definitely think Dragon's Dogma feels like a core team worked on it. Like everything feels like it gels. Like it's got an identity. There's no crisis there, in my opinion. But or maybe it's a case where they should have outsourced more. I don't know. It could be the opposite, right?
This secret there.
Maybe they did too much of it.
He thinks I spy ought to
what
use.
stopped them from doing
We ought to take
the
a
amount of
closer look.
variety, maybe in storytelling or something. Maybe.
But I think
they
there's
were too protected. They couldn't let go of it. I want to model all the trees. That's my thing. No, man.
There might have also been like the whole thing about this is the first open world RE Engine game, which is why they needed to keep a lot of things in
It's
house.
rather peaceful here,
Because the
isn't it?
technology wasn't
A
really
brief respite
ready
is
for
not
this
to be
because
Well, they
of some
probably
of the
had to.
performance issues.
They're building the technology as a big unit for sure.
Yeah, so there's probably a lot of that as well. Maybe it could be contracted because, like, well, we don't want people to get the inner workings of the RE Engine because that's our baby. We want to keep everything.
I guess dann gehen wir nach oben. Irgendwo hier.
But jumping back into one of the systems that to me was a universally positive throughout all of my experience, the pawn system. How'd you like it this time around?
Love the pawns. I'm trying to think, is there anything I don't love about them? I can think of a few things, but I love so much about them. Like the AI is fantastic. I think we had that sort of guess that like, hey, I think the improved AI that we saw in like Monster Hunter Rise, something like that might be applied, and definitely I think that's the case. I think they're much smarter.
An interesting thing about them, and this is something that people have been pointing out, which I'm not sure how accurate it is, but it appears to be somewhat accurate, is that most of their behavior is actually learned behavior. So it's not just, oh, you set this inclination and there you go, that's the AI to your pawn.
Yeah, it was like that in Dragon's Dogma 1 as well.
Yeah.
Did you ever see my how to train a pawn to kill a drake? And I made a joking like Edinburgh inspired clip of step 1, jump on the drake, chuck at this, and as you do it, they'll mimic you and they'll learn it, and then they start going straight for the chest the next time. There's something really fancy going on behind the hood that makes it feel really good.
Yeah,
like they definitely feel like they're growing as characters.
Yeah, and I've definitely noticed that I was trying to like get him to do the throwing thing more often, so that whenever we're fighting big monsters, so I actually played as a fighter, even though I didn't want or need to. I was like, I'm going to play as a fighter to try and teach him how to use these skills that I've given him. And a lot of people even told me, like, hey, when he was on my party, he was the main character. He was brutalizing everything. He was dealing tons of damage as a fighter. And I was like, yeah, that's my boy. He was just, like, going in, destroying everything and jumping up on monsters and whatnot. Someone even told me that at one point, he knocked a Cyclops to make a bridge. And then as he made the bridge, after everybody crossed, he jumped on the Cyclops' back and was like, die! Die! And he went down with the Cyclops into him. Because he was just a maniac. And I was like, yes, that's exactly how I trained him. He's my man. So I like.
I think there's a few areas I would have loved to see them expand on, maybe in a sequel or an expansion, which is, I think they needed more. I love the idea of the specialities. That was a super cool idea, but it feels incredibly last minute because there's like what, 3?
No, there's
in
way
the game.
more.
There's
like 6 or 7.
Like, okay, 6. The other ones are so background that I forgot about them, but like, yeah, expand on maybe.
Because he was just a maniac, and I was like, yes, that's exactly how I trained him. He's my man. So I think there's a few areas I would have loved to see them expand on, maybe in a sequel or an expansion, which is, I think they needed more. I love the idea of the specialities. I think that was a super cool idea. But ones are so background that I forgot about them, but like, yeah, I'll manage the weight, which is whatever at the end of the game. Logistician is actually really cool. I like Logistician. Then you get like the I will find items automatically if you give me crap. Yeah, that's the one. That's the same thing that you just said. I will heal you if you give me potions. Divergent. Yeah, Forager is the I feel like we went a lot farther with some of those. Like, has a tendency to... I guess it's sometimes a bit gel the person set those. I don't know, I just feel like we could have been... Wanted more ways to customize the combat. Well, also more reasons to romanticize. That was something that was really weird for me because in my first playthrough, I didn't get a single scroll given to me organically. Why, you didn't even? No, I got the girl and I got the Chirurgeon. I got the Chirurgeon for the little girl. I got the Chirurgeon for the little girl. That was the one. That was the one. But after that, nothing else. And it was weird because then I started New Game Plus, and instantly on some random quest, they were like, "Oh, by the way, here's Logistician." And I was like, "Wait, what?" And almost at the same time, another character comes up, "Hey, and here's Forager." I was like, "Where were you people in my first playthrough?" I still have not gotten Forager. I don't know how to do it. I didn't look it up, but it was one of the quests. I forget which quest it was, but it's one of the early quests in Burnworth. You just get it. Oh no, I know which one it is. I know exactly which one it is. It's when you find out the hidden spot in the slums with the scrolls. With the little boy? Yeah. The kid gives you the Forager one. He didn't give me immediately after that quest, he gave me the Forager one, and the old man gave me Logistician. The old man gave me one. Exactly. It didn't happen to me either the first time around. You tell me you romanced the old man. No, I didn't romance him. It was literally the first quest I did for him. They were just like, "Oh, here's Logistician, and here's Forager," and I was like, "How? You didn't do this the first time I did it? That's weird." But the game's been patched since then, so there might have been like bugs that prevented him from doing it or something. Yeah, but it completely surprised me that I go and I do that quest, and they're like, "Oh, here's this and here's that," and I was like, "Wait, what?" I don't know. I just did the quest 2 days ago.
It is well to be thorough.
You still haven't gotten
to see the merit in returning to this location time and time again.
I'm not about to give them my bunch of flowers.
Your Rizz's motivation.
But yeah, I thought the pawn system was really cool. And again, this is something that I always say. The fact that I was able to have the official pawn, it's one of those things where you always want to be able to play with people from your audience, and it's just not feasible at scale. With the pawn system it is, because I made the character as if it was my main character, and so it was like people were playing with me and having adventures, and that was just, as a creator... Yeah, I think it's the gold standard for games when it comes to how to make a single-player game but make it feel more multiplayer. I think it's a golden standard. It was in the first game, it is in the second. There's some jankiness to it, but I think half of that's intentional, half of it's because it's experimental, but I think it works really well. And there, they nailed it. Obviously I have the official pawn, which is constantly getting hired, getting but Capcom also put a system in place that we talked about. If you remember, I told you when I was playing, because I'm playing offline, but my pawn's getting recruited. So there's an in-game system that will recruit your... It's had that, I think, by default. Yeah, well, even all of the official pawns games with Wingstop.
And you can't do that with the same character over and over again, but you can just hire an infinite amount of pawns.
That's actually
so like the game is very nice at doing that.
That's actually a weird thing. Was the limitations on what we can give people as pawn quest rewards? Because I was like, I want to give port crystals. I want to set a pawn quest reward and just give people port crystals. Can't do that.
Yeah, but how? Yeah, I feel they could go farther. Like, let me put a reward, and how many am I going to put in? Okay, this thing can now be rented out 15 times. And then he comes back and says, I don't have any more rewards to give.
If you put gold, you can just do it as often as you can. You're basically doing gold into the economy. But yeah, I did. I tried giving people, because like people would send me really valuable stuff, and I'm like, well, I don't want to break progression, so I'll just send it right back. I'll just give it to somebody else. Some people would send me stuff, and I'd keep sending it back to give back to the community. But unfortunately,
one thing I do gotta say about the pawns though, and I feel bad about this. I just realized I think I cut you off.
No. Go ahead.
No, I'm sorry.
I mean, maybe it doesn't matter.
No, it's like, you know how like you have the robots do the mundane pain in the ass jobs?
Yeah.
It's funny because I've seen every video that I've watched from any creator, we all seem to have the same opinion, which is mage. For a player, for a pawn, S tier. S tier.
Fighter, a tank. Then I would have a mage, which is actually from a friend of mine. I would always get his mage because so many people with mage, for some reason, they don't like the skill that's just like a big light ball. It's not, but yeah.
Sassy.
But I think they did a great job with the whole pawn. I've seen a lot of people complain that like, oh, my pawns keep jumping off cliffs and whatnot. It's like, it's learned behavior. That's what they learned that from somebody. So, you know, if you see a pawn jumping off a cliff, it means they learned that from somebody. They don't just jump off of cliffs for no reason most of the time. So a lot of people are jumping off. Because, you know, you've also seen that, I'm not sure if you've seen it. Somebody threw a pawn off a
I know what
cliff,
you're going to say, but yeah.
and then they die, and then he revives them, and then he throws himself. Yeah, and then they get picked up. So it's like... And so I start fighting the Drake. I'm still kind of like getting used to how the trickster works. And so somebody in chat is actually making fun of us, like, look at how bad that vocation is. It's worthless. You're getting your ass kicked. And I failed the first time. But then
Why
I was
is the dying in one hit?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you get that there's even loading screens in between from all the stuff that you're doing. I feel that part was walking in the dragon should have been
agreed.
You know, coupled
we
together.
ought to give ourselves a chance.
Oh yeah, because otherwise you're just literally walking. Yeah. It doesn't change. It's identical.
It gladdens my heart to see you say I know just the person.
Oh, you've brought me such joy.
I have a modest talent for spotting material. I've found some materials we could use.
Wait, which
I'm
part?
attentive and loyal.
Near
and
the
I'll
end,
serve with redoubled.
The final
Pray have
credits
patience with me, master.
Is
there aught this called my
standing there, and your pawn is in black dragon form. Goes in there, starts stabbing him and open him up, and then he starts going on this monologue. Master, you've brought me so much joy, and then he gets kicked off.
I trust we've all inspected our equipment.
Yeah,
I've never not seen that.
Yeah, that only happens if you have max affinity with your
ready to
I don't know how you can not have. I don't know how you not do that, but apparently some people don't have that, and they don't get that cutscene. The cutscene is different. I don't know how that would work.
Yeah, so I guess what I would say is I love the idea of what they could have done with the Unmoored World. The execution leaves. They could easily fix this with an update. Like they can add stuff, make the respawns happen more frequent, do something, not kick me out after 10 days basically. Really, they don't kick you out, they just make it so that it's a pain in the ass for you to have max health again. The same thing.
A fitting reward for
about the Unmoored World is that what's intended is for you to go to the places that had water, because now there's no water. You can explore those places. And there's new things there. Like in some places there's new dungeons.
Oh yeah.
So that's kind of like the main thing of the Unmoored World, besides, you know, just running around upgrading all of your stuff and doing all of that. But yeah. So actually, while we're talking about the Unmoored World and all that, what'd you think about the story?
So, the thing is, like, Dragon's Dogma to me never really had a story as much. And I think there's some
I
lingo
disagree
that
with
I need to go through. Well, I need to go. Yeah, I think I need to better define what I mean. The first game actually had story where this game doesn't. To me, story. So you have a story premise, right? You have a setting. What that is like the world building. Like, where is this world? What are the mechanics? How does it work? What's the general vibe of what's going on? And I think they always they nail it. I love what Dragon's Dogma is, right? The recursive nature, the whole idea of the Arisen versus the dragon, and all of the pawns and that stuff. Like, that's great. But story is like where you take those characters and what they do from the start to the end, right? The adventures they go on, the depth of the characters that they reveal and stuff like that. And the game has a wonderful premise. There's like 2 or 3 small story cutscenes to help advance the story, but in most cases the story is just functional. It's just there as a wireframe, right, to move things along. So in fact there really isn't much story. Like, I don't really get to
but I feel
interact with a lot. I mean,
in the first
there's
one,
like
the confrontation with Essential. I feel like that's like
awesome.
a big story moment, right? Which is something that
even
you're
Mercedes
saying
had story moments, and you don't get that.
No, you get that here through like some side characters.
The Elfin boy he's the replacement for Mercedes, and he doesn't compare, in my opinion. Although I liked him a lot.
I mean, there's other things in there, like
Grant was definitely better than the general.
Flame will accomplish little against this foe.
Grant was good. I like this quest. I like this quest.
Finally got to see all of it.
And you're finally playing.
6th playthrough. I didn't realize how time a lot of that stuff was. Yeah. The game in that regard sometimes. But I don't know, like the quests or the side stories that happen, I like those.
Yeah, that's the thing.
I like the main story. Like, when you say the main story of the game, there really isn't much of a story.
That's the part.
Seek you past those who tread near is said to be divine. I heard one survivor tell of how his companion went suddenly quiet, and when he turned around to see what was wrong with
one of
it,
the things that I've
her head
noticed
fell
is
off
that
and
they
crumbled
take a lot
into
of
dust.
liberties in assuming that the player is familiar with the original Dragon's Dogma. Because I was watching a stream.
You hear a lot of those stories round here.
The game
I've met people who've lost arms and legs,
like,
or else watched their friends get rent in two so fast they were still... Should you choose to go there in spite of my warning, sir, on your head be it.
So I'm constantly having
But I
to
pray
jump
you'll
in there
return
and
to
say,
tell us what you saw.
so let me explain
I'd
to
be
you what
well
a
eager to
pawn
learn of
is.
it.
Yeah, because the game, I think...
The game doesn't even tell you. You're surrounded by pawns that have been enslaved, and you have no concept of what a pawn is. It's so important, because I didn't even realize, right? Because I know what a pawn is. I see the pawns that are being enslaved. I'm like, oh, this is really important, because somebody has control of these pawns. The pawns obviously only obey to the Arisen, so there's all of these lore things going on here. My friend starts playing the game, and for him, it's like, oh yeah, there's a bunch of slaves here. They call them pawns for some reason. It's like, that's it. The game only tells you about pawns after you create your own pawn. But at that point, somebody who's new to the game, they probably won't even remember that they were just in a prison surrounded by pawns who had been enslaved, who were only supposed to obey to the Arisen. So I was like, okay, stop everything. Let me explain to you what a pawn is so that you understand why it's important that these pawns have been enslaved. This is a very important thing for the story. And when I realized that by watching it through the eyes of somebody else, I was like, oh, damn. This is actually a problem. And then I started thinking about as well, you know, he wakes up next to Ulrika. there's a dialogue option that says, "I think I became the Arisen." And it's like, what? And then I start trying to justify that, and I'm like, well, it might be because this world has gone through more cycles, so maybe Arisen is a more known term. Because in the first one, it's like, oh my god, my heart is gone.
Yeah,
what happened?
It's missing. I think it's missing that mystical, like
yeah,
fantasy element in some regards.
Because in the first one,
like the going to see like the other guy who was a prison or whatever, like in the field.
Yeah.
Going down and talking to him, like that was a huge story
Arisen.
moment and really interesting. We don't get nothing like that. We just go like, hey, I'm a ghost. Here's a sword. Have fun.
Yeah, that was one of the things. It's like I really enjoyed the moment-to-moment little stories and stuff, and walking around the castle. Like, oh, I discovered that the queen is in love with Phases. That's why she's doing everything for him and all of these things. It's cool, but at the same time, it's kind of like just a retelling of Dragon's Dogma 1 in a lot of ways.
Yeah,
there's more Game of Thrones
an inferior version in many ways.
Yeah.
Like I think the mystery is gone for a lot of stuff. It's a given in this world that this is how it works, and there's nothing surprising about it.
And that's the weird part, right? Because
and
again, in the first one, it was a big deal. Nobody.
The Arisen calls.
They tell you, oh, you became the Arisen. I was like, the hell's the Arisen? And this one's like, oh, I guess I'm the Arisen now. Oops. And then there's a bunch of other Arisens too. It's like, I'm an Arisen. You're an Arisen.
Of like your royalty at the start, and then you're just getting yourself back there. That's not as interesting as a nobody going to and finding out you're destined for something bigger. The whole moment of you like reliving that scene with your heart taken out, it's all really half-assed in a way. I think they
because I've seen that cutscene so many more times now. I've also noticed that they give a lot more emphasis to it in the original. Because, like, in the original Dragon's Dogma, the dragon goes in with the finger and he touches you. There's a big emphasis on, like, they didn't even show the dragon, even though the dragon's right in front of you. They mute everything out. It's just your character, like, jumping off. Yeah, it's a very... And in this one, it's almost like there's nothing special about it. The dragon just goes like... Tasted nice.
You too?
I happen to understand Elvish, Master.
You're an Arisen now.
Tis the honor of my life to share your journey. Good morrow to you,
if you take away the specialness, then nothing's really.
And did you notice that after Talos, all of the Arisen are marked on your map?
Are marked. Yeah.
I never understood why. Did you notice that after Talos, all of the Arisen are marked on your map?
Are marked. Yeah.
I never understood why.
Yeah, I don't know if there's a reason.
Yeah. People told me it's like, oh, so
hey, you didn't find the vocations yet. Now it's time for you to go find them.
Now you can go find them. Yeah. I don't know. It was weird because they didn't even explain that mechanic, or do they explain? I forget if they do. But suddenly it's like, oh yeah, you can see the Arisen now. There's all these markings on the map. I was like, huh, okay. I mean, I never did find the Meister for Warrior. I think I know where it is now, but I never did find it.
I think you found him, and I think you got it, and you just didn't realize it.
No, I never got the Warrior.
He's just the guy at the entrance of Mel.
No, that's the fighter.
Oh, you're talking about Warrior.
Warrior. Yeah, I also never found the Mage one.
I never found...
yeah.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I did the Mage one recently, and that was...
I did the Sorcerer. One of the Sorcerer
Okay,
ones.
funny thing is,
there's two.
I didn't even get the Mystic Spear hand in my first playthrough, as you know. That was the one weapon I really wanted to play. When the game came out, I'm doing that because I like the Insight Glaive, and I didn't get it because the game flagged, and I was raging with you about that.
Yeah,
like,
you were mad.
I could not get that, and I'm like, what the hell? Why is the game promoting a skill, a job, and I'm already at the end game, and I don't have it? Where the hell is it? I've searched everywhere.
Yeah, but it is possible to miss a lot of these things if you're not paying attention. But in a way, I kind of like that. I like the fact that
I love missable content.
Yeah, it's good
because
stuff.
it makes finding it special.
Yeah. I'll eventually find the Warrior one, whatever page one. But yeah. So, I guess the
Oh,
one thing
wait.
unless I'm missing.
Dragon's Play.
remain by your side.
One more thing, but I guess, yeah, we can talk about Dragon's Plague. So Dragon's Plague is another one of those things that got instantly spoiled for me. People came into my stream screaming, Murakan, I gotta tell you, listen, there's a thing, it's Dragon Plague, real bad, it'll ruin your save, it's so bad, you have to stop it, okay? The second you have to, it'll break your game. And I was like,
Are you in need of healing?
calm down.
You know what this reminds me in real world pandemic, how people react. People are weak sauce, man. Like, everyone right now is making avatars with blue eyes. You can see really well whether or not they're still blue.
Yeah.
Like, are you all, like, you are the same people that stock buy toilet paper and hoard it for people during, like, you guys are weak.
People kept telling me, like, why'd you make your dwarf with the eyes so small? I can't see if he's got Dragon's Plague. It's like, bro, chill. It can't be that bad. I never got it. So, but the thing is,
it took me forever to get it.
People spoiled it for me, so I already know that what happens is you get Dragon's Plague. After a while, your pawn murders the whole village in a cutscene, and then after that, you have to get the Eternal Wake Stone from the Sphinx, and then you can resurrect everybody. And boom, yay! So that's Dragon's Plague. It's not.
Well, there's so much like incorrect information out there on the thing, which is the stupidest thing. And that, and just people being like, "Oh, this is controversial. I can't believe it would brick your game or do this." I'm like,
It doesn't break it. It doesn't break your game. You can kill everybody in town if you want to. You can still finish the quest.
Yeah. And guess what? I actually wanted to get footage of it because I'm going to do a video eventually one day on it because I think it's a cool mechanic. And I had to like beg somebody on Twitter to give me a pawn that was infected because I couldn't get it. I had recruited over 100. I was trying so hard, could not find it for the life of me. So finally, someone gave me a pawn with it. I'm like, thank you. And the first thing I do, I go to Vermont, of course.
Yeah, kill everybody.
I want to see how many people I want to see how many I can kill in one shot. And so 244 people gone.
Damn.
And you know what?
I bet your frame
rate. And I got footage of all of it. It's
the frame rate
like
improved.
So. It does. Oh yeah. It does because it's a good way to. There were some funny articles about that. Like Dogma players are now going around killing NPCs in a bid to make their game perform better. But like, what's the thing? Like, if you, unless you are doing it because the game is so weird and respawning and some of the systems where they make you are encouraged almost to spam sleeping in some ways. Like you can only buy a fairy stone every 3 days. I'm like, that just ensures that people are going to reset it in 3 times in a row, or sit on a chair for 12 times. You know, like when you do that, that's when it becomes dangerous because everyone's telling me, "Hey, you spam that?" I'm like, yeah. At that point, you have no idea that a pawn is not going to take long. You have to 5 days because you're just like. Groaning and having headaches, sitting, doing weird stuff. Their eyes start to glow demon red, and that happens for like a week. And then if you don't do anything after the game throws you so many warning signs saying, "Yo, this," and if you sleep at a camp, they'll get cured, and it'll just move to another one of your pawns. And then until you...
One might
so it's like almost impossible to have them get fully blown
victory.
infected. You would have to literally spam,
We mustn't allow ourselves to
like,
become
sleeping where you don't look at your pawns
Take
at all.
each trial
To find out, because when you go to camp, everyone
that would have
got
been
it, they'll get cured.
That would have been obvious
but
for
the
me
person
because
who...
I never fast forwarded time too much.
Yeah.
I was always
So the person who...
that.
So the pawn that is the culprit, so to say, the one who has it, like the other people will get cured when you sleep at camp, or it'll reset their infection status, so to say. But the one who doesn't, who has it, will still have it, and so you know who the culprit is. And I think it's kind of, I can see the point that like they should, the way they treat pawns is really neat, and there's something to say about like the humanity of it. That just kill him, release him or kill him. Like people are just throwing them in the river, and then resurrecting them. And so I was like, there should be a way to cure it for them because that's a little mean.
I mean,
I get that.
I had a problem with it, which was there was one time where I caught Dragon's Plague. I mean, my pawn didn't catch it, but it was the time where the tutorial pops up. So you're like, okay, this pawn's got Dragon's
Someone
Plague.
in your team's got it, yeah.
No, because it was immediately after I recruited a pawn, a new pawn to my party, and I instantly got the message, and I was like, okay, this guy's got it. The problem was, because I wasn't streaming, I was like, well, this fucking sucks. I wanted this to happen on stream.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, into the water with you. You're gonna take a shower. It was like instant. The tutorial popped up. I was like, all right, see you. Just like threw it into the river. But if it had happened on stream, I was gonna let it play out just for the people.
Yeah, it would have been a lot more fun and interesting.
Yeah, that's the thing. I wanted to get it to let it play out, but
it's hard because people are so freaking scared of it that they're just thrown away and killing pawns.
Because I wanted.
Get it. I'm thinking, you got a story about enslaving pawns, and now they get sick and you're murdering them. I'm like, self-awareness? Anybody? Come on.
That's pretty messed up. That is pretty messed up.
It is. But anyway, so you when they're fully blown, like their eyes are glowing like Sith red, right?
Yeah.
Like it's almost impossible. Which I'm totally on board with people who are purposely hiding the eyes of their characters or making them red like I did. Make the eyes as red as you can because people are weak. They need to stop being afraid of this thing.
Yeah.
If you take your pawn in that state and you sleep at an inn, then what happens is that night they go berserko and they murder everybody in that town. So if you go to Vermouth, you will kill roughly 244 NPCs. Break your game? Well, let's see. Go sleep once. If you sleep once, all of a sudden, the town's got like 160 people.
But methinks I can manage for the time being.
Yeah, every major function in the game, all the shops, they all have NPCs that come back immediately to repopulate. So the game doesn't break. If anything, the game is very clear. There's so few almost the main story quests that they're very specific in what character. Go tell Grant that you need this. Go look for this Sven or whatever, right? So if they die, which they do, for some reason the queen just regenerated naturally. I don't know.
I threw her out.
Try for the same results with our next
People told me she comes back. I was like, well, that sucks.
She came back. She came back after she got nailed by that. I was really disappointed.
It was actually funny because to give you an idea, I literally walked up to the castle, went in through the front door, went into her room, picked her up against her will, and walked out, passing through all the guards. Nobody cared because they knew if I try to stop him, he's just gonna kill me and take her anyway. I might as well let him take her. So I just kept going. I just kept going. Went up to the bye. Yeeted her to the pride.
Yes, I mean, at the most you would have to use a wake stone out of what, like 2 characters in that town to advance the story?
It's the eternal wake stone. It'll just.
And the thing is, they don't state. There's all this information like, if you don't raise them after a few days, they'll rot and they're gone. No, they're in the morgue permanently, and at any point in the game ever, you can go and restore them with a wake stone.
If they die in a quest, I think they stay dead. So, like for instance, the quest to go save Sir Gregor, I failed it because, like I told you, I've been playing just me and my pawn, 2 fighters. We don't deal that much damage, so the Doulahan was just like focusing.
Oh yeah. Well, that's a scripted
and
story.
It's like,
yeah,
he's dead. There's no wake stoning him back to life. He's gone.
That's a story. They're very clear about that. That those all have the little hourglass mark and tell you.
You know that
you need to save him.
You know that there's a quest that bugged out for me because I killed one of the guards when I was trying to escape prison, and that guard was supposed to be a part of another quest, wherein he was going to arrest a beastren while I'm escorting Nadinia through Vernworth, and so I would get to the beastren, and it would trigger the cutscene, and then it'd be like, oh, I'm not gonna lie for you, but then there's no guard that shows up, and I was like, what the hell's going on? And people are like, yeah, there's a guard that's supposed to show up. I was like, okay. I do remember killing a couple of guards, so it was really funny because one of the times I agreed to lie to protect this thief because I was just trying to see if I could move the quest forward, but it still got stuck. And in that time I was like, okay, I'm gonna go to the morgue. I'm gonna try to find, there was one guard there, and I was like, okay, resurrect this guard. The guard stands up and is like, oh man, I'm so happy, you resurrected me, thanks. And then as he's about to leave, he turns around and asks me, hey, have you seen a thief around here? In the morgue! He's like, hey, have you seen a thief around here? And my character answers no, because I said I was going to lie. And then he looks at Nadinia, and he says, hey, I know you! And then he arrests me. It's the weirdest thing. I was like, bro, I just resurrected you. What do you mean you're going to arrest me like that?
What was really funny is I had a fun bug where I resurrected Brand, and he had the Dragon's
Brand
Plague.
Die? What did you do?
Because I had my Dragon's Plague. I killed everybody.
Oh, okay. So you resurrected Brand.
But when I resurrected him, he had Dragon's Plague. It immediately went away, but it bugged out and showed him.
I don't think that's supposed to happen.
It's not. It was funny. But anyway, so like there's. Not only can you get wake stones very easily through, like you said, like the natural pawns that just say, "Hey, sleep one night with me, and I'll, spend one day, and I'll give you a shot."
During my travels beyond the rift, I learned of a cave near here that you have
But there's also, of course, that's a good motivation to go do the Sphinx quest, which will reward you if you do all of them with the Eternal Wake Stone, which is a one-time use, and you use it, and it restores literally everybody. So all 244, boom.
I have 2 or 3 Eternal Wake Stones that people just send me.
I like the idea that the community can work together to help each other out with that stuff.
Our respective abilities.
I don't think the game was planning on people to actually get the Dragon's Plague and kill everybody, but it doesn't really affect anything.
Yeah,
it's a really cool sequence. No, it's a really cool sequence, and yet everyone's pissed scared about it, that they're making their pawns with blue eyes.
It's the
no masks. I'm like, that's just stupid.
But it's that same thing. Which this is something that I've noticed has been happening more.
Come chasing it as well. Aye. Rumors abound of the Shrine of Eld in this domain.
When they are playing
could be, and if monsters happen to be guarding
the run needs to be perfect. Everything needs to be perfect. So this is one of the things where I talked about this with saves coming in Baldur's Gate 3. Yeah. And I said, listen, you play your video game however you want to play it. If you want to have the perfect run, you save scum as much as you want. My suggestion would be that at some point, playing cross, but there's some really cool stuff that can happen when the dice don't go your way. It's funny. But a lot of people, they don't want that. They're like, I'm only going to play this once. I'm never going to play it again because I don't have time to play it more because I need to go play something else. And it's like, you know that the games, at least most of them, are not going to just disappear, even though we are getting some of that with the crew going away from Ubisoft. That's a whole other can of worms. But, most games are not going to just disappear out of thin air. You can play something, not have the perfect playthrough. Just like life is often not perfect.
So I would argue
a lot of crossroads.
Running into something like the Dragon's Plague and actually having it trigger. that is part of the gameplay. Exactly. Seeing the house of every major feature. Why are you running away from seeing one of the major features?
And like I said, I wanted to grab it because there's also things like it makes your pawn more powerful.
Yeah.
And apparently people had been killing my pawn repeatedly because they're like, oh, your pawn got the Dragon's Plague, and they killed him. So I don't know if I got the Dragon's Plague in somebody's game and they just instantly killed him and it never got back to me. Or I don't know if maybe the Dragon's Plague is just not synced with your actual pawn. It just varies from player to player. But if my pawn ever caught the Dragon's Plague organically, it never came back to me, so I think that people are just like, he's got the Dragon's Plague, kill him! Poor Rurikon, it's just like getting killed instantly.
I really enjoyed it getting it. I thought
Turn
it was
out
a cool
your
thing. The
pockets.
game really was everyone's out there trying to
Yeah,
it surprised me just to think why they everything. It was cool again.
But on the topic of the Sphinx, so did you like the Sphinx?
I love the Sphinx.
I didn't like the Sphinx at all.
I think there's a few things that I have complaints about it, but in general, it was a highlight of my experience.
I didn't like the Sphinx. Did you do all of the things you're supposed to do with the Sphinx? Because I'm gonna ask you specifics.
Yeah.
Like I don't care. Like
I did, but actually, before we do Sphinx, I have to tell you one thing before I forget it, because you were talking about me raging when I was playing the game in my first playthrough, and then all of a sudden I'm falling in love with this game. All of a sudden, I'm talking about it, yet I'm still also complaining about it. It's a weird love-hate thing. The other thing that happened to me, and this you might find this funny, but I hate it, and I think this needs to be fixed if it's not a bug, is you get to the checkpoint town.
Our master has given us an
rather
order.
early in the game.
Surely you do not
and you
intend
find
to
out, okay, I
disobey.
can't go past the checkpoint town. And then at the very entrance, there's a guy saying, hey, I want this item. If you find it, give it to me. Thanks, bye. And then you're like, okay, whatever. The jaded orb. You walk forward a little bit, and another guy comes up saying, hey, I'm looking for a jaded orb. You got it? I'm like, okay, there's obviously a conflict. They both want the same item. Har, har, har. You know, and then
you buy it at
right
the
behind,
forge.
Yeah, behind the guy, behind him, it's literally on sale, on display.
I think this a trifle, but
And you
have
buy
you
it,
pursued your current
and then you're like,
vocation
well,
over the
two
course
people
of your
want this
journey
item,
with the Arisen?
so
Well,
it doesn't
there was
seem
a
to
time
have
I
any
served our master
property
of
to it. I
I
probably
can
should just make a
scarcely
forgery and
help
give them the forgery, because it's the forgery. It's the game is introducing you to the forger.
Yeah.
So what did I do? I made a forgery of it, and then the guy who's been stalking me saying, "Hey man, you got it? I really want it." I give it to him, and then the first thing he says is, "No," and the first thing he says is, "I need to check if this is real or not." I'm like, are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah.
Did this game just debate me? Like, really? So, he just turns around, goes to the guy, and then the appraiser looks at me and says, what? And then they say, pay him 2,000 gold.
Yeah,
I'm like, oh, I'm paying him to shut up. I pay him, right? I paid him.
He wants more.
And then he looks at me and says, what? And he says, pay him 5,000. The thing is, I had just started my game. I didn't have 5,000.
You're getting shaken down by the forgery guy?
So immediately he's like, I don't know what this fucker is. And then, sorry, my language is bad.
Yeah.
And the knight jumps me and attacks me. And for the eternity of my playthrough, anytime I entered that town, I was aggroed by everybody.
That's what you get for
I had
being a filthy forger, Gaijin. That's what you get.
The game shows you the forgery. They literally set you up for failure. I think that's stupid game design. I really do. And on top of that, I went and I even went and changed my appearance to a different race to see if that is a way out of it, because that naturally would work, right? Nope, they know who I am. I know who clear ID.
Exactly.
I get to the Unmore world. I'm there to help them escape.
No.
They're still aggroing my ass.
They're like dwarves, dude. They have the Book of Grudges and they wrote your name on it.
So imagine the fun of my playthrough. Not only am I dealing with my daughter and Atal and just the stupidness of that, I'm now also, I can't do anything in the checkpoint town because they aggravate. I tried to talk to the guy to save his son or whatever, his grandson. Can't, because I got all them jumping me from behind the moment I enter that town.
That's so funny.
Jumping me. I can kill them all, and then it's just a bunch of town dead people.
So
I was so upset by that.
I just. Decided because there were two people looking for the stone. One of them seemed like he was more serious about the stone, like he was the actual owner. And
yeah, the beast guy, right?
No, the beast guy was not.
Maybe I'm just different. Why you're different? I thought he was more serious, and the other guy was just like, yeah, I thought the other guy was more sincere.
If you paid attention to the quest, the Beastren guy is trying to find the orb to give to the other guy that is asking you for it. Because the other guy is his boss or something, because he lost the Jadeite orb. The Beastren guy lost the Jadeite orb. The Jadeite orb
so
was
he's
from the
much
other guy.
more authentic, so he really needs it. Which is why I gave the fortune to the other guy.
Yeah, but he really needs it so that he could supposedly give it to the other guy. So what I did is I was like, this other guy probably knows more about the orb than the Beastren. So I'm giving the Beastren the forgery, and I'm giving him the real one. And then he takes it to praise at the other guy, and I was like, oh. And then on my New Game
thought it
Plus,
was a cheap shot.
on New Game Plus, I did it the other way around. Then I just paid the guy off because I'm rich, so it doesn't matter. I was like, whatever, here, extort me. I don't care. I don't need the money.
The reason why I bring this up, not only because I wanted to highlight
mansion in Burnworth.
Oh, I bought that too. Yeah, it's nice. It has no meaning, but it's very beautiful.
I don't think it's that beautiful, to be honest. I think it's pretty weak sauce for 200,000 gold. Nah.
Well, 200,000 is a lot, yeah.
It's better than the
reason why I bring that up is because I know this is going to come up in your talk about the Sphinx. The reason I'm bringing this up is I think the game has a few areas that are guilty of bad assumed. Like, you know, like when you go to a school and you do those tests, and they say like A, B, C, D, which is different? Choose the one that's different. Like, some people just think differently, right? Yeah. They're like, oh, these are all even numbers. This is the odd one. No, you're wrong. I was actually looking for one to start with. Haha. You're like, well, that's stupid. I found the reason why this one's different. So it's like they're asking you a question that they think is natural. Like, this is the answer, but it's not. Yeah. And then they punish you so horrifically hard for screwing it up when they weren't clear in the first place. And I think there's several cases of that in this game where they're like, I just feel like that's just dirty because like you really weren't clear. Like that's just, and then in my case, they kicked me in the teeth until the very end of the game. And in your case, like the Sphinx, if you screw up, they just shut the door on your ass, you know. And it's just like it's a little extreme. Like I'm really like,
it wasn't
I'm not taking the L for that. That's not my fault. That's your fault.
It wasn't because of that. That's not the reason why I didn't like it. Like I didn't like it initially.
I imagine you'd bring it up.
Part of it is because of the streaming thing. Because I felt like, okay, I need to do the Sphinx so that people see it. So I'm just jumping all over the place, and I was like, this is not fun. This is not a fun way to play Dragon's Dogma, teleporting all over the place. So that was number one. And then number two is, for every, I'm not sure if you've noticed, but for every single question in the game,
it's certainly better.
At least the ones that I saw, the Sphinx goes, are you sure? Yes or no?
Yeah, I love that. That's the best part. And then it does like the FF14, like the treasure map where they go, ooh.
Yeah. Except for one of those questions, the parents one. She doesn't ask you for a confirmation. And I was curious because I was thinking, could the parents be an item? Maybe it's a trick question. Let me see. So I tell her, I have your parents here. There's no confirmation. She just goes like, these aren't my parents.
Yes,
I'm like, no shit, there's nobody here. I was just curious. And so I'm like, why does everything have a confirmation except this one? So that pissed me off, number one. So there's the teleporting thing, then there's that. Then there's the thing where you're supposed to find her again, the riddle of reunion and all of that stuff. I had already found the other place.
They don't even tell you it's a riddle.
No, but that doesn't matter. I knew it was a riddle because I saw it. You solved the riddle of reunion. I was like, okay, I get it. The thing that bothers me is then she says, tell me how many of my riddles were aptly answered. And I was like, okay, aptly answered means the ones you got right.
Yeah.
That's wrong. She wants you to tell you how many riddles you answered, not how many ones you got right. So if you got
guys that say I don't know if it's right, but there's guys that say that if you answer with all the ones that you've done, you will actually fail it, and it's only the ones that you got right.
Then I don't know, because I've heard people say that it's all of them, but then there's the other thing, which is she says, oh, but the statue's here in front of me, and I'm like, in front of you where? On top of the pulpit? Like, where am I supposed to put these? So I put them on the pulpit, right? I put 6 statues.
She doesn't say, oh, you mean 6? Nope.
No. There's no confirmation. There's nothing. And on top of it, when I interact with her, she knocked 4 into the ground. She just knocked 4 of them into the ground, and I was like, wait, what a
diva.
Does this count? I don't understand. People were telling me it doesn't need to be in the pulpit, so I was like, okay, that's fine. Because I know for a fact that I answered correctly the 6 riddles. Up until that, I had done 6 riddles correctly. I know this there's not a single question in my mind that it was 6, if you count the reunion one, unless the reunion one didn't count. Because technically speaking, but technically speaking, the reunion one, you don't answer anything. You just find
that's
her.
what I'm saying. Like, this is what I'm saying.
So
like when you're saying,
weird.
like, hey, here's a forger. Hey, I'm looking for a stone. Give me it. Wink, wink. I'm like, the game's just that's bad.
And that was the one where she just goes like, well, fuck you, bye. I was like,
bye.
What? That was I was not particularly happy about that. It was not because of failing, it just didn't feel fair because of the way that things were worded, because of the way that it's not made clear where am I supposed to put the statue. I don't know. Put him up my ass? Like I don't know.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it was right. I don't know if it was supposed to be on the pulpit or in front of her or on the side of her.
No, I didn't put him on the pulpit either.
Yeah, so I don't know how that ended up happening, but I did carry the urn. I carried it all the way to Dogma, because I thought
that's Monster Hunter A quest mentality.
Yeah. But like I was initially, I even said the solution. I was like, wouldn't it be easier just teleport the person here? But I thought you could teleport people that weren't.
Yeah, I didn't know it either, so I used the seal file on it. I put them in a bit.
I used the seal file on the loved one. On the previous one, so I brought my loved one there with the sealing file, so I didn't have it for that one. But apparently you can just grab them and teleport, and that's fine.
Yeah, that's what I found. I'm like, really? I was like, come on now.
But basically, once I realized that you could do that, because people told me, yeah, you said the solution, you can't do that. I was like, nah, I'm gonna carry this bitch. So I go all the way to the rest checkpoint town.
There should be an achievement for that. I'm sorry.
So I go all the way, because my plan was, I'm going to go all the way here, and then I'm going to use an ox cart to carry this into the city. But what happens is that thing does not stay in ox carts. So it doesn't teleport with you. And I was like, what? How's that fair? That's so weird. So there's a bunch of stuff about that doesn't work. You know that if you take that thing on a gondola, it will not stay in the gondola. It will stay floating in the air as the gondola starts moving.
Oh, God.
So I came across a lot of weird glitchy things like that with that particular quest. But, yeah.
No sense weighing down my pack with rotten food.
Oh, Jesus.
No,
I really enjoyed the Sphinx, even though I do agree with that jankiness being...
Yeah,
I puzzle I thought wasn't fun. I honestly, I really love riddles, so I wish they didn't call them riddles.
Because those are not really riddles.
I really wish they would have did something like, like the movie Labyrinth or something, where they're like, you got 2 doors before you. One guy can only tell the truth. lies. He says that this door is not the door I need to go in. Who's right? You know, like those things that you want to like get out of pen and paper and like sort of think about it, like, oh my god, which one's right? That would have been cool. You know, like riddles. But I guess with localization, you probably wouldn't want to try to figure out how to do it in a way that it makes sense for everyone. But I love the creepiness of the design of the monster, the voice,
design of the monster is
everything.
great. And I've heard that fighting her is also a
I have a
puzzle
modest
in
talent
itself.
for spotting material that can be used. Is there aught this upon my...
Yeah, fighting her
I'm
was
attentive and
disappointing
loyal,
actually
and
for me
I know where we can
because
find the necessary...
that's
It
another
gladdens my
gotcha
heart
that
to
the game
see
has
how might I
because
serve you.
there's no clear point that you get to challenge the Sphinx. It's just you either end all the riddles and say I don't want to do them all and you just hit her, or the moment you solve it, she's like, very good. You got to hit her before she flies off. So it's not even an official fight. It feels like you're just hitting an NPC in the face or something. So I thought that was tacky. Then you got the point that you shouldn't fight it with your pawns, which is stupid because the game does nothing to tell you about that. You actually need to tell all your pawns to wait and let you solo her. Because there's a hint, apparently. Like, you know when you see that guy with the vase and there's like the mural? The fact that she's got scars all over her body except for her face and her boobs, that's supposed to be a hint that you're not supposed to attack her vanity spots. So you can hit her anywhere but the face and the boobs. And if you do that, then you can kill her. If you don't, and your pawn just goes up and hits her in the chest once, it won't happen right away, but after just a few seconds, she'll say, "Oh, what a bore," and just flies off, and you fail it. I'm like, what the hell is that? And I thought that was tacky as hell. And the game autosaves right there as well, so you're screwed.
Yeah, of course.
So basically, what everyone does is because she does gift you one of the arrows of unmaking.
Yeah.
Is just go become an archer and shoot it at her wing. Boom, done. I don't think you can even shoot it at her face. I think you have to do it to the wing. I'm like, that's vague at best.
Yeah.
So people are like, defeat the Sphinx. I'm like, that's like telling me to kill Brand or something. It's like there's nothing in the story that sets it up that I'm going to fight this person.
Yeah, I
I
noticed
feel like I'm
that
breaking
was.
the rules when I do it.
I noticed that I was missing like a badge in my pawn that I couldn't start working towards, and I was like, "Huh, did I miss a monster?" So I looked it up, and I was like, "What's the Sphinx?"
My knowledge from other worlds tells me that a forgotten stone lies near
That's
here.
Then there's, did you ride her to the second location, or did you
Shall I
actually
lead the way?
No, I found
for her and find her?
I found the second location before I started doing the riddles. I saw the chests.
I will admit, okay. I will admit my noobhood. I could not find her, so I actually asked Fighting Cowboy. I'm like, can you please tell me where she is?
No, I was
please?
exploring. I was exploring and I found the spot, and that's actually what caused me to go and do the riddles, because I was like, oh, there's another spot here that looks just like the Sphinx spot. Interesting.
Nice.
But yeah.
Is there any other riddles that you found weird?
The day grows dark.
Any other riddles?
Or you wanted to ask me about?
The Sphinx parents. I think. What is that? I've been told by Ratatosk that it's a pawn.
Yeah, so that's up to you. So what it is sometimes when you go into a rift, there's a pawn called Sphinx parent, Sphinx father, Sphinx mother. And when I was asking Cowboy about it because I didn't know. And when I went into a riftstone, there was no pawn like that. I went there again, did it again. It took me over 20 or 30, I can't remember the correct number, but at least over 20 times of constantly going into the rift, exiting, enter, exit before it finally appeared. I'm like, no one's gonna think that you do it 5 times, it's not there, right? Nope. Yeah. You just gotta wait for the RNG and then you hire them. I don't know whether it has to be a Capcom pawn or it can be a player one.
Yeah,
I don't know because if people are cheating and they're setting people up for failure.
Because I heard that from Ratatosk that you're supposed to find those in the rift. So the other day I was playing in New Game Plus and I'm going to a rift and I find a bunch of pawns. Sphinx parent, Sphinx mother, Sphinx parent, Sphinx mother. And I was like, okay, there's probably, I'm assuming that the right one will be by Capcom. And I'm looking, these are all player pawns.
Quickly now.
I was like, this looks like a scam. That's what this looks like.
I'm kind of curious if you can just rename your pawn to that.
Sphinx parent, yeah.
But I don't know, I was too lazy to check. But I thought that was kind of an obtuse one because there's no hint at where, you know, in the language of where you might find.
I thought that riddle was stupid because I was thinking to myself before I answered it by mistake because there was no confirmation. I was like, oh, I need to go look at that mural that's in Bach Batal. I need to go look at the mural that's down there a little bit better. Maybe there was like a hint as to where I can find her parents. And no, it's just Pawn's name, Sphinx parents. Like, what?
Yeah. You know what I was looking for? I was looking for a map item. Because I was taking it as a literal verbal riddle saying, I am a lost child. And I can learn everything from my parent. I'm like, oh, she's looking for a map. That would help a lost. Nope. It was just a pawn.
Yeah, that's why I thought it would have been a friggin' an item or something that you would get, or maybe even something that you'd get like a.
And for the loved one
statue.
is also kind of tacky because I thought, oh, you have to bring a character that you have affinity with. I don't think the game gives a shit who you put there. I think it's just asking you. So you can take your just pawn, or you can take a pawn that you just hired that you've never talked to, and just put it down. And it works. Just take anybody. And if you take the entire party, there's different dialogue saying, "Oh, just one." If you take the whole party and put them there, she's like, "Oh, nice."
Yeah, you know, that was what I was gonna say. When I took Ulrika there, she was like, "Oh, only one? I thought you had more." I was like, "Oh, okay." I'm a one-woman guy. Sorry. Even though,
interesting enough, if you go to her, oh, go ahead.
Ulrika ended up not being my romantic interest. The dragon was like, well, I'll just take this blacksmith that you've been giving all your money to. It's like, yes, makes sense. I've been giving her all my money. She does dwarven upgrades, you idiot. How am I not supposed to give her everything?
Yeah, I don't like the idea that talking to somebody or someone who naturally has quests, always ends up becoming your like, I don't love him. Just
especially
finally gave Ulrika felt right.
I gave Ulrika 2 rings of eternal bond. That wasn't enough to signal to the game that like she's the most important one. The game's like, no, you like Brand. I know you like Brand. I was like, God damn it.
Yeah, and the idea of I do like the you give me an item you care the most. I'm gonna take it. You sure about that?
I gave her a
core crystal. Then you give her the core crystal. She'll give you one back.
Yeah, I realized it was a good thing because I was playing a magic archer at the time, and I was like, well, as a magic archer, the most important thing I have right now is this magic bow. So I give it to her, and she's like, okay, here's another one. And I was like, I don't want magic archer bows. God damn it.
Concept I love. I think the execution could have been better, especially the fight should have been like you solved all my riddles. Now face me. You know, they should have made an action instead of like, oh no, you're just supposed to hit it before she plays out. I'm like that's. But
I was trying
as much as I'm complaining, man. I know it sounds really weird, but I have to say again.
Yeah, that's the thing. I feel like that this podcast is gonna have a bit of this negative. Yeah, it feels like a bit of negative energy, but the thing is, we just
can't stop playing it.
No. It's what I was going to say is there's no way for somebody to talk as passionate as we've been talking about this game for like almost, I think it's probably more than 3 hours at this point, if not coming up on 3 hours. There's no way to talk this long, this passionately about a video game and not. It's actually straight up. The game is awesome. But yeah, could have been better.
Strike fast.
Yeah, fingers crossed. Maybe not even just that.
Really proper expansion.
I think it would just be a real loss if they don't.
Yeah.
And I was very happy to see 2.5 million because in the end the sale numbers were abysmal. It was like 700,000, like 70,000 like physical copies sold or something. I'm like, ugh. But nothing here on PlayStation sells.
Over here, if you please.
It was.
I'm happy it's selling, so fingers crossed.
I'm hoping it keeps selling because at the end of the day, despite the shortcomings that we talked about, I absolutely love it. Wouldn't trade it for the world. It's still my game of the year.
Any game that's any game that's adventurous and experimental and fun like that is going to have its ups and downs, but the ups more than carry the game.
But anyway, we've been talking for
it's getting
way
too long. I gotta
long.
get some dinner.
Yeah.
I gotta make dinner. My daughter's starving to death.
I haven't eaten either. It's like 2:30 p.m. Haven't even gotten to lunch, so yeah, I need to eat too. But if you guys enjoyed this extra long version of the Third Fleet podcast, make sure to hit up with a like. There's links to Gaijin's channel as well for whenever he does decide to make these Dragon's Dogma 2 videos he says he's gonna make. You guys can find those there. Go ahead.
School's here just started in Japan, so it's very busy. So
it's rough, but yeah, that's gonna be it for now. For us, thank you all very much for watching. Stay strong, stay safe.
And I gotta put something out here. If you guys want us to do a part 2 on this, because I really like talking about Dragon's Dogma 2, like put questions that you want answered in the comments, and maybe that'll convince us that we can do another episode. Because I want to hear your episode's thoughts, opinions, questions.
Yeah, let us know,
stuff
guys.
Like that.
See you guys in the next one.
Anyways, happy hunting.
Peace out.
As a period to recenter what I want to be doing on this platform. But I would never have gotten that opportunity if it weren't for people like you. Just chalk up creative growth to it.
Listen, I got some copium here for you. This is a compressed air thing. I got some copium here for that. No, but before we straight up jump into Dragon's Dogma 2, I want to ask you a little bit about we had very different experiences.
Guys, man, during very slow DVD news cycle here, and I was browsing Reddit in bed and came across this thread that might actually have some interesting random things that people might not be aware of. A lot of these are really basic things, but there are also a couple of lesser known things that I do think it would be good to reiterate to the player base, because I see people in solo queue, for example, making these mistakes that are, again, really obvious to me, but they might not be obvious to, like, you know, your standard player that's not just looking up guides for stuff like that, so it's not really fair, and there's no tutorials for it. So here's a couple of like random things that Reddit brought up that I think are pretty good. I have to go out of my way. The first one is just, I've noticed a lot of my solo queue teammates don't realize you can repair generators. That is the unknown fact. That's just the, like, you know, your standard player that's not just looking up guides for stuff like that, so it's not really fair, and there's no tutorials for it. So here's a couple of like random things that Reddit brought up that I think are pretty good. I have to go out of my way. The first one is just, I've noticed a lot of my solo queue teammates don't realize you can repair generators. That is the unknown fact. That's just the... Yeah. Okay, let's actually go through some of the real ones though. So a couple of these are really good. This first one right here, quickly tapping a survivor on hook will make the Knight's Guard who is chasing you disappear. This is something that I have tried to drive home so much because so many people think that the Knight is for some reason this extremely good camper because you just can't save. He's got the guard on you and the killer. It's gonna hit me twice, I can't do anything about it. No, as soon as you touch the hook, if there's a guard pursuing you, the guard instantly vanishes. The Knight is no better at camping really than like any other killer. He has no more lethality than any other killer. He can try getting you away from it if you are kind of like far away from the hook and it's intercepting you from even getting to it. But in terms of like actually straight up camping the hook, you really can't do that. It's not, he's not any better than any other killer. So as soon as you touch the hook, it just cancels out and the guard goes away. Important to note though that next patch, I think they're removing the ability to cancel. So you don't really have a choice of faking it anymore. So I don't think this is going to be as relevant because you literally won't be able to not do this anymore. So we'll see how they go. I really hope they don't change that because I think it's a really bad change. But next, Xenomorph will disable all flamethrowers on a map for a couple of seconds after exiting a tunnel. And this is true. This is why putting a turret outside of a tunnel is not really a great idea. The problem is you get the turrets from the tunnel, so your behavior is, oh, I'm moving really slow, I want to drop this down and move on. But when you drop it right outside a tunnel, you can just come out of the tunnel and slap it, and nothing has been done. You haven't really accomplished anything. So it is worth taking it the extra 3 or 4 seconds further away so it doesn't get disabled. I'm not sure the exact radius, but it's pretty small around the tunnel. So putting it right outside the tunnels is not always the best idea. Skull Merchant drones can't detect you. This one's a lot more obvious now if you're standing still or crouching. It used to be the lines did not turn white, but now when the lines turn white, that indicates they are not going to detect you. Very simple. If you're crouching or if you're just standing still, they're not going to be able to detect you. So the visual interface makes that way, way clearer now. This is also a pretty known one as well, but I'll reiterate it. If there's 2 lockers combined with each other, the dredge will always teleport to the locked locker. So if you have like a pair of lockers, you only have to lock one of them, and the dredge will always teleport to the locked locker. That way you can lock it again by locking the other locker, so there's 2 attempts to basically lock it in there. Never blinding Legion while they're in frenzy is a very, very good idea, because the blind will cancel his frenzy, meaning he doesn't have to go through the cooldown of the and then he's like, oh, like that, and then he can just immediately smack you. So I'm sure you've seen clips of Legion techs before where people will get a hit with their power, and they'll get blinded and immediately just down them after that. Don't blind Legion with their power, almost always a bad idea. This is what I didn't actually know. If you see idle Victor nearby, crouch to him and then kick him. If you don't crouch, the killer will get killer instinct on you and almost always switch Victor. I didn't know that crouching near Victor actually made it so you didn't give killer instinct. I straight up did not know that. I think I've gone against the back my entire life, so it's not like I've seen multiple chances for this to happen, but that is a good thing to know, especially if we're about to have a Twins rework. That is a very useful fact. I'm not sure how useful it's going to be with the change rework, though, so I guess we'll see. You can instantly remove Artist Crows by jumping in a locker. This is an extremely understated one, because not only does no one play Artist, but people don't know about this when they do go against Artist. They will get hit on a generator across the map, and then just sit there and repel the crows with a locker 2 feet away. Like, there's no reason to not fastball the locker. The Artist knows you're there. You just need to convert. So just go in the locker, they're instantly gone, get back out, right back on the gen. She's basically just wasted her power. So that is a very, very useful thing to do. But for the most part, you just don't really ever see that many artists, so it's just not that big of a deal. Another thing is, I'm not sure if it was listed here that I read here, but Plague's infection. I actually didn't know this until like a month ago. If you are walking, your infection doesn't progress, it just stays still. It's only when you're doing actions like generators or actively running that the thing will actually go up. But you can actually awkwardly like put Plague into the scenario, especially if it's a Plague that has like the passive infection style rather than the active spray on you style. You can just walk in her face and nothing will happen. So that's actually really cool, and I straight up just did not know that. So that is a very, very useful thing. Also, I think this is a pretty good tip too. If you hear Doc charging a static blast, going in a locker will dodge the madness. He'll still know where you are because he went to the locker, but he's going to know where you are anyway, so always a good idea to just do that as well. This one is a little weird. If you're spraying yourself in his master Terrorius, he gets killer instinct on you. That's both true and not true. So that is a very, very useful thing. Also, I think this is a pretty good tip too. If you hear Doc charging a static blast, going in a locker will dodge the madness. He'll still know where you are because he went to the locker, but he's going to know where you are anyway, so always a good idea to just do that as well. This one is a little weird. If you're spraying yourself in his master Terrorius, he gets killer instinct on you. That's both true and not true. That's a global effect. It doesn't matter where you're spraying yourself, he's always going to get killer instinct. Nemesis is the exact same way. Those killers, no matter really where you are always going to get some form of killer instinct. So they're always going to know where you are, and that's why Wesker tunneling can be kind of annoying, because you kind of have to choose. The best plan against Wesker is to 99 your heal, then spray yourself, then finish the heal. Because if you spray yourself and he knows where you are and you're still injured, then that can be kind of a rough scenario, because he's going to come back, you're injured, you can't really get away. Sure, you're not slowed down anymore now, and that's wonderful, but you still have the fact that now you have a Wesker that's tunneling you when you're injured, and yeah. Lockers can hide your killer instinct. Very simple fact that a lot of people don't understand. So if you go in a locker versus Legion, he's going to grab you out of it. They can see you. Killer instinct is that, like the heartbeat, red pulsing effect that you can see. It's not direct aura reading, but it's a very rough indicator of where the survivor is. I didn't know that. You can open gates with Madness 3. I guess you can do that. It's one of those things where that scenario, like, it never really ends up happening, but it's kind of good to know. Like, you can do a couple of things with Madness 3, like unhook, but I didn't know you could open the gates as well. That's pretty interesting. Setting Plague with a pallet will have the Corrupt Purge, will take them out of power. That is definitely true. Just really hard to do, because typically plagues that have their Corrupt Purge up are kind of going to respect pallets a little bit, which you can use to your advantage by reading the pallet and running past it, because they might ready their power and then you can keep running. It's not as big of a slowdown as Huntress for her, but it is still probably a better option overall. This I didn't know either. Ghostface can be knocked out of his power by a Mark Survivor. So apparently, I don't even know if this is true or not, but I'll believe it for whatever reason. If you are exposed by Ghostface, apparently you can't reveal him anymore. Not that that's a super common scenario where that'll actually happen, but yeah, it's good to know if a Ghostface does have you exposed and then he goes into his power again. You don't really have to waste time staring at him awkwardly to get to reveal him again, because apparently it doesn't actually do anything to change that. This is also just a general quality of life thing. Knowing what certain perks do is really nice. Things like Plot Twist will make it and stuff like that. This is more just general perk knowledge as well, but the amount of times I will down myself with Plot Twist and solo queue, and I'll have 3 teammates, SEAL Team 6, dive on me to all heal me, actually wasting so much time. That's not really a tip I can give here. It's just learn what these perks do. We'll make it, for example, if you're unhooked and you see a new little symbol in the bottom right-hand corner of your screen, that's We'll Make It. They can heal you in 8 seconds. Just let them heal you. It's one of the few times healing out of the hook is actually a pretty good idea. Crouching against Xenomorph, very good idea, because the tail kind of goes from up to down. Now, good Xenomorphs can drag it. There's a little bit of an active hitbox where you've got about a half a second to drag it downward. So good Xenomorphs can counter this, but anyone that just goes directly to just hit you over a pallet, you can crouch over it or under it a lot of the time. Crouching Plagues, Corrupt Purges too. If you're right in Plague's face, she cannot actually aim directly down. It only goes kind of outwards. So if you're directly below her crouching her, she actually can't hit you with Corrupt Purge. Now, she can just M1 you, but M1ing is much better than Corrupt Purge, because the cooldown is going to be much longer than hitting with a Corrupt Purge, so that's always a good idea. You can leave, this is something a lot of people don't know, you can leave the game with a pig trap on your head as long as it's not activated. Pig traps activate after generators are done. If all the generators are done and then she puts a trap on you, it's essentially a dead trap. It doesn't actually do anything. Another random tidbit is trap on your head as long as it's not activated. Pig traps activate after generators are done. If all the generators are done and then she puts a trap on you, it's essentially a dead trap. It doesn't actually do anything. Another random tidbit is if someone has an active trap on you and you're on the end game, and they're being chased, everyone needs to leave the match, because the only possible way that guy is going to escape is if they get the hatch. So you definitely need to just leave. I can't tell you the amount of times I've been killed because teammates want to help me, but there's obviously nothing they can do. So that is very, very, very important to just leave in that scenario. Liking nature in the first rush, that's pretty obvious, although sometimes even I screw that up. Yeah, oh yeah, there's the plague one. You don't infect other people or gens unless you're fully infected. That's actually a little known fact too. Just because you have infection on you doesn't mean you're going to spread that. You have to be fully infected and broken for that to actually begin to spread. Crouching for blights and demogorgons and billies is also a good tip too. If you crouch, it makes the hitbox way more strict. If they directly hit you in a straight line, crouching is not going to do anything. But for those hits where they hit you kind of like on the side of the hitboxes, crouching can sometimes actually just straight up make you dodge a hit. Additionally, elevation differences make things like blight power hits and chainsaw hits very, very hard. So for example, if you're on the basement stairs and a hillbilly is trying to chainsaw you down, if you crouch, it's almost impossible to hit you unless he hits you like directly in a straight line. So that can make you really safe as well. It's also super frustrating. This one here brings up a really good talking point. Just simply saying a hook stage takes 60 seconds. One of the most important tips I can give you is if a guy's being tunneled, you can tell he's being focused down. The safest place that person can be is on the hook. The person cannot be tunneled if they're sitting on the hook. Yeah, that might suck if you're in a scenario where, you know, you're just leaving the guy on the hook to die, but doing 50 seconds of gens and then
to its final 23 floors. In the PlayStation version, Thing holds onto your items. You need to punch him to get him to cough them up. You are
and then trading right at the end is so much better than dancing back and forth, trying to get him early where he might just get, like, think about it. Say a guy gets hooked, you want to unhook him 20 seconds later. Killer comes back, hits him, and then 20 seconds later downs him and hooks him. That's quicker than if you just let him sit on the hook and you actually would have been on gens that entire time instead of having to 1-for-1. Sometimes letting people sit on the hook when the killer is clearly proxy camping or tunneling is by far the smartest play. So I guess the tip here I would say is the safest place a survivor can be against the tunneling and camping killer is on the hook, because they can't be killed while they're on the hook unless the full time allot. So, you know, you got to use judgment calls there. If they've been on the hook for, 50 seconds, then you do have to go save. But, let them sit there for half a minute. It's not a big deal. It wastes a ton of the killer's time if they stick around there, and also it protects them from tunneling. Additionally, they can still use their anti-tunnel perks with that once they do get unhooked. It just took even more time there, so that is going to be really good for just your overall efficiency there. I think those are mostly some pretty good ones. Holy shit! What? What do you want? Video over. What? Hey guys, Scott here. Bonus video today. I randomly read Wikipedia articles about random things because I have nothing better to do with my life. And I remember this story I learned about in, I don't know, geology or something. It was like in middle school or high school or something. It's called The Fable of Imimar. It's from like the Aztec, Mayan, I don't know, it's like around that like time period. But basically, I just wanted to go over the story because I think it's pretty interesting and it kind of relates to a certain thing. So, the general gist of the story is there was this pretty advanced civilization. I mean, like advanced, like, for the time, not like, the ancient precursor TV trope thing. I'm talking about, like, they had like irrigation and farming and stuff like that. Like even like mild forms of bathrooms and stuff like that. So they were like an advanced civilization. It was pretty prosperous, but then over time they started having like hostilities amongst each other because there were like there were farmers, and the farmers would, like, the ones that worked harder would get more food, they would get more money, they'd have more success, and the smaller farmers that didn't have the resources to even have fields that big and stuff like that, they started suffering more and more. Some of them started starving. So there was starting to be like an imbalance between the hierarchy and like the social hierarchy and the caste system and all that stuff. So there were starting to be like infighting and warring and stuff like that. So the priests of the Nahuatl people went to their temple for their god, and they prayed for like 7 days and 7 nights or something. And then on the 7th day, or
sometimes high.
2 weeks later, this giant like stone effigy of the god appeared. And so they were all like, oh my god, they were all like reverent for it, and the effigy spoke to them and said, I am here to bring peace and balance back to your people. There will be no more, fighting between you due to perceived imbalances in social hierarchy and all that stuff. It'll just be everything nice and uniform. I'm here to make things just and fair. And they were like, oh my god, what do we need to do for this? And the god was like, oh, the best part, you...
We should be able to move this boulder with our combined might. Would anyone care to push? As the Arisen command, rebels! say it. We trounced our foe, well and true.
Overconfidence is an enemy in and of itself. Let us instead strive to better ourselves with every battle.
Let me get that.
This Oxguard was beset by assailants it could not shake. And this is the result.
The work of goblins, mayhap?
We ought to proceed with caution.
With a view like this, we might well espy locations we've yet to explore.
The scenery of Batal is wondrous to behold.
'Tis a remarkable treasure we've found. A fitting reward. For a rigorous search.
Ah, now here's a surprise.
Our collection grows. Interesting. I shall have to inform my own master of this.
This might be worth a read.
Shall we take a closer look?
I'd wager there's ought to be found here.
We ought to take a closer look.
I'll collect that. You needn't trouble yourself.
creatures who know death cling to life.
Ought we to pursue and eliminate the stragglers?
So close a call offers no solace in victory.
We ought to consider this a lesson. This is what befalls one who lets down their guard. This is generally used as a material. I suppose we might as well gather what we can.
Fear not. I shall aid you directly.
Ours is a party of women, by and large.
And yet, no two of us are the same.
Let me get that. Common reward. Frustratingly so.
Hold fast, Arisen! I shan't let you fall!
Defend the Arisen. Battle is to be avoided, I take it, Arisen.
Let us defer to the Arisen's judgment.
Right you are. What has stricken you, Arisen?
well worth the effort of breaking it. Just yonder looks to be a good spot for harvesting ingredients.
Shall we see if there's aught to be found while we're here?
There, Master! Knackers!
Fire is not its weakness, but its strength. Avoid it at any cost, Arisen. You must be down the hall.
Down low, well and true.
We mustn't allow ourselves to become complacent. Take each trial as it comes.
I will protect you.
I knew that I could count upon your strength, Arisen. Now, what might that be? No dawdling. The Arisen calls.
Understood. I've a modest talent for spotting material. I've grown accustomed to traveling with... I am attentive and loyal, and our master is ruthless in command, yet kind indeed. No sooner have I fallen in battle than I'm set back on my feet. It gladdens my heart to see you safe. I know where we can find the necessary materials to enhance... I shall inform you if I learn aught. I've found some materials...
Not like a feast to get you ready for bed.
Good sleep is the key to a good adventure.
We've little need for a site at present.
Let us return once we've grown tired from our labors.
Our master has given us an order. Surely you do not intend to disobey? here again. Methinks we've seen enough of this place. Come. The Arisen's motivations are not ours to question. Now here's a surprise.
A splendid discovery.
A treasure chest. Shall we see if we can't make our way over to it? There's something down there. Is it safe to descend?